Hey gang, it's Tim. Welcome to Focus Friday. Today we're going to talk about one of my most favorite topics, which is position and vision and perspective. So this isn't a crazy art class where we're going to teach you how to draw like lines that make it look like there's a horizon out there, but I want you to think about perspective when you are selling. So often when you are selling, you are very focused on your activities, the things that your barrel of expertise. And that's what you're selling, because you guys, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're all doing some version of expert selling. I know about this. I can do it better, faster, or cheaper for you, right? So that's cool. That's great. But there's a disconnect, because although you can see the intrinsic value in your activity set, your prospect or client doesn't have enough context to be able to say, oh, great, I understand when you change this to modified mod match, modified broad match, that you'll end up with, with more traffic at less cost, right? Like they can't make that kind of connection because they don't have the right context. So your job is to actually be able to switch your perspective and look at everything that you say and do from your client's perspective, and that, or your prospect's perspective. And that, my friends, it's, first of all, it's hugely challenging, because even if you were to listen to what you were saying, you would still have the context where you could understand the entirety of the value of all the activities that you undertake. So let me tell you a quick story. So a long time ago, it was like 2009, I guess. I headed up SEO at a big agency, and one of my guys had been working on link building for a particular client, and he landed a great link. Actually two, I think, as I recall, like from a really big, really relevant site that had super high domain authority. And he was like over the moon because he'd been working really hard on this. And he thought that just sort of getting a couple more high quality links would actually change the domain authority for our client. And so during our weekly meeting with the client, this guy went off and talked about how excited he was about that link. And my client very carefully said, well, thanks, that's great. So what does that mean for us? And so my expert went into a very long discussion about page rank and domain authority and all that sort of stuff. And as we watched the client's eyes roll back in his head, he said, stop. Okay, so maybe I don't want to know all that stuff. When does this start making me more money? And there was no answer. None at all. And I had to say, well, I don't know. And so the client said, great. I'm glad that you're happy with with the things you're doing, but the only things that matter to me are the things that I can bring to my boss and say, we've invested this money and we're getting that kind of return. So he said, the process isn't my passion. It's the outcome that I get excited about. But since we are all experts here, we are selling the process very often. So you need to develop the ability to look at yourself, your activities, your structures, your everything that you do from the potential viewpoint of your client. So looking at that sort of perspective, giving yourself that kind of perspective without any empathy for yourself. If you're looking at yourself completely coldly with no context, are you communicating things that are meaningful to your client? Are you communicating things that your client understands and can put into their value calculation? If you are not clear on your value, the value that you're delivering or the value that your client needs, then you've got a major disconnect. And that is what's in the way of you selling and of you retaining customers, because you don't have the perspective to place your activities in the context of your client or your prospect. And it's that sort of perspective and context that allows the client or prospect to say, yes, the value of working with you is greater than the value of the cash I'm going to pay to you sitting in my bank account. And really, that is the fundamental equation that we have to solve for every time, is we have to contextualize our value inside of the value system that our client or prospect has so that our fee seems cheap. So today, your homework is this. If you've got a recorded sales call, ask your spouse or your mother or your uncle or your brother, somebody who's not in the industry, ask them if they understand what you're talking about, and if they found it compelling. And then you should ask the last person that didn't do business with you and ask them why. And tell them, like, this is not sour grapes, but I really want to know where, because I really thought that we had a terrific value for you. Can you give me some constructive feedback? And I'm going to guess almost universally, you didn't do a good enough job of contextualizing the value that you bring. So it was more important for them to hold on to the cash than to get your benefit. And so that's what I want you to think about, is looking at yourself from the outside. Look at yourself from another perspective. Have great empathy for your client, but then view your actions, your communications, and your suppositions with no empathy at all. With cold, be cold and hard when you look at yourself, because you have context that softens the things that you miss. Your prospect or client doesn't have that context, so they cannot give you credit for the amazing things that you do. So you have to have empathy for your client so you can present yourself inside of their value construct, that you know that the things that you do are valuable to your client because they have value inside of your client's world. You have to have empathy in order to do that. But to make sure that you are actually saying those things, you need to look at yourself without any empathy at all. And that kind of sucks. I know. Happy Friday. Have a great day.